Well, on to the MMA news section of this week, and really one major story that we're going to be delving into in detail, but a couple of other things that we want to focus on as well. Really, it's kind of old news at this point, but rewinding the clock to a couple of days before UFC 274, Sean Strickland gave an interview basically accusing Pat Barry of being a groomer. And this has kind of coincided with obviously an onslaught of criticism, a very badly advised and poorly delivered interview that happened with Pat Barry and Ariel Hawani, where Rose was weirdly in the background. And we basically have to talk about it at this point. Is Pat Barry a groomer? And connecting to that, is he starting to become a bad influence on Rose's career? Uh, Straight off the bat, let's look. We got to look at the timeline. So Rose first met Pat Barry when she was 14 years old. As far as we can tell, the timeline seems to either be that she started training with him at 15 or she started training with him at 17, building up to her 18th birthday. What we know for sure is pretty much on her 18th birthday, she asked him out and they've been a dating fixture till then. Now, Matt Mitrione went on the Calabasas fight companion with Brendan Schaub, doing what he thought was being a true friend and fiercely defending them, saying that at no point did Pat Barry ever make any moves until she was 18 years old. What he unfortunately missed is that the whole idea with groomers is that they spend a lot of time prepping until they can actually make an advance. So, Josh, I've done a bit of talking straight off the bat. We're obviously huge Rose fans. You obviously, Pat Barry fans as well from back in his fighting career, his coaching career. What do you make of this? What was kind of your initial thoughts when it first happened, and how's your reactions now after seeing how everything's played out in concordance with the fight?
So honestly, I've heard, and I haven't confirmed it either way. I don't even know how I would, to be honest. I've heard both that it started when they were 15, and it started when she was 15, and it started when she was 17. And honestly, I'm like, well, one of those is really, really fucking bad, but the other one is fucking awful. So I don't know. Like, if it's 17 is really fucking bad. Technically legal. I don't like.
Can I be honest? I'll just say
Yes.
this. I completely accepting that 17 years old is underage in America. I would also like to just kind of chuck in the caveat that although it's not ethically recommended, in the majority of places in the world, there wouldn't be any legal reciprocity for that. It is literally like
Yeah.
America and like some other, like four other countries that have 18. Like in Spain, it's 14. I mean, Jesus Christ, to be a pedophile in Spain, you are a real fucking pedophile, if you know
In,
what I mean.
in France, wasn't it like 13 or something at one point?
Yeah, in Mexico, it's 12. As Ricky Gervais famously says in one of his, I think it was Animals or Politics, that's one way to solve your pedophile crisis. Although I bet they still have a crisis. She looked 12 to me.
Jesus Christ. Uh,
Which is a terrible joke.
it, it's a terrible fucking issue.
It's not my joke. It's not my joke.
It's a
It's not my
terrible
joke. It's
fucking
Ricky
issue.
Gervais's joke.
Um, Look, it doesn't matter whatever the fucking age of consent is. Like, it's not your fucking age. You should have a big fucking think about that. I'm not condemning all age gaps, but I think when you're trying to justify an age gap and the person is at the age of consent, do you know what? Maybe don't. Yeah, maybe fucking don't. And
Well,
even he is 18. 18 makes sense, right? For like 19 and 20-year-olds, it's like, yeah, there's a cut-off point. It's 18. If you're older than that, well, yeah, your age of consent's a little bit fucking higher. It's just, it is
it's
worse
weird.
than inappropriate.
It's a weird situation. And to be honest, I'm actually kind of surprised that nobody's sort of like, I mean, the coach student relationship is already one of those things that I'm a big believer should be kind of separated from your personal relationships for a variety of different reasons.
Yeah,
But
it is quite prevalent in martial arts.
yeah, it does happen a lot, I suppose. I
Who's
suppose
that
it happens a
Brazilian
lot with
fighter
in.
who her coach kicked her out of the team when she got pregnant, and he'd been like
I don't.
sleeping with her since she was like 15 or something.
I
I
don't
should
know,
back
mate.
it up with
I
facts
don't
and
know.
details. I knew we were doing the Pat Barry thing today as well, and I was like, go research that fight. I have something else to talk about, guys. I fucked up. I didn't look it up.
Listen, at the end of the day, Rose isn't complaining. They seem to be very much in love. And so I do think there's like, it certainly seems like it's a little weird, but I also try and look at it like you can't be more victimized than the victim kind of establishment to that as well. I feel like it's one of those things where it's, you kind of look at it and be like, you're a real lucky man, Pat Barry, that you guys are in love and this all works out brilliantly. Because there's a different story where you guys break up in year 3 of the relationship, and she gives an interview 4 years later talking about the psychological fucking manipulation and abuse. So it could have gone in a different direction, and it's certainly suspicious. But what it's kind of led to as well is, we all saw the corner advice, and obviously when we did our breakdown of the fight, we were very much discussing this being like a fighter mentally kind of trying to get their fighter through. I don't know if that's necessarily what Rose needs at this point in her career. Like it seemed like Pat Barry was on a different wavelength to Trevor Whitman. And Trevor Whitman was kind of trying to get a more aggressive game plan in, kind of subtly, with Pat
Well,
Barry
that
sort of
yeah, but why?
reinforcing this.
They both seemed off. Why the subtlety? There's a missing piece here. I swear to God, there's a missing piece. I don't know
Well,
what it is.
did you see the interview?
What with
Pat Barry
Hawani?
on.
I,
Yeah.
I don't watch Hawani. No.
Well, you should have, because it was odd. They defended the game plan. They defended the fight. Uh, they spoke about it like everything happened the way that they wanted it to. It was very, very odd. And even just the way that Pat Barry was the one being interviewed rather than Rose seemed really strange. She was in the room. She was kind of like in the background over Pat Barry's shoulder. The whole situation was very strange. And in terms of what I think about that, I don't have an opinion. It's strange news that predated a strange performance that then was followed by a strange interview. And you do kind of look at it and think, like, what happened to the team that game planned the Joanna knockout, the Zhang Wei Li head kick? It all seems really, really odd. And it's kind of weird because the thing that I kind of never really thought about is suddenly having all of these questions from kind of multiple different angles kind of brought up.
Honestly, fuck knows. And there is a fucking missing piece. I don't know why she was so off. I don't know what the huge disconnect was. Why were they both so weird? It's very weird. It seems impossible that all three of them be having that off and off night all at the same time. You know, when you think about who you're talking about and what they've achieved, it's more than suspicious. I honestly think she was having a really bad fucking night, and they were trying to soldier through as best they knew how, with how they think they should talk to her. And I don't know how much you can really judge Pat or Trevor's corner advice, if that would be the answer to it. It's all just so fucking strange. I definitely though, getting a different look in wouldn't be the end of the world, because heavy lies the crown. If you're gonna get back to being a champion and stay a champion, it wouldn't hurt to get some different looks in.
Yeah. It's one of the things he said in the interview is that one of the reasons Rose didn't engage as much is because it was going to be Mother's Day the next day or a week later. And she didn't want to look all bruised up in front of her mum. This is what I mean about the husband, fiance as the coach, kind of like, if a head coach that isn't sleeping with their student hears that, they're going to be like, you're about to fight in a world title shot. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, but also I think if you've been coaching Rose since forever, maybe since 15, no. Or I don't know.
How old's Pat?
I think he's like if she, I think it was like 30 to 17 or 30 to 15.
Okay.
So, like, I guess 42 ish, something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I'm not sure, but yeah, older.
Listen, to play the devil's advocate, age gaps happen. We understand that. From a biological perspective, men are most attracted physically to women that are generally 1920 to like 24, 25. Okay, that tends to be, from a physical perspective, the sweet spot age. And that goes to basic biology of when women are at their most fertile. Um,
Yeah,
so
but I don't know. As you get like, I like women my age. I think.
true, because not everything is about physicality, and you appreciate that the older that you get.
Yeah, I
But
think a lot of it kind of changes as you get older. So when it gets, like 70-year-olds marrying like 20-year-olds, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, you can do what you want, but like you can't tell me it's love. It's
no, it's very much lust, is what I'm saying. And the older that you get, the more I think, in you know, emotionally intelligent people, deprioritize immediate physical lust over compatibility and personality and all of that kind of stuff. And that is something that you share more compatibility with in terms of interests and life experiences with somebody that is in your age group. But there's a reason why fucking, CEOs get caught banging 25-year-olds. You know what I mean? Because when you have the luxury of choice, that is what you go for. So nobody, I'm not knocking it. And I don't really think it's likely that she was banging her at 15. Where I feel it's dodgy is that
just gonna say
if you're establishing,
Wayne Rooney got caught banging grannies, so you know, give some love to the youth deficient.
listen, sometimes you want a glass of red wine. Sometimes you want some grape squash. Same things, different amount of time in the bottle. Both good. Both good. Just looking at me like, what the fuck was that analogy? Point
No,
is,
I mean I
did
like it in principle, but one of them things is a little bit better than the other one, is it not?
yeah. Here's a bigger question: is it any of our business if he groomed her or not? Like, or do you have to say until the victim says something's up? You
Well,
can't.
no,
We
but
don't know the
that's sort of
information. We
part of
can't
it,
connect
isn't it?
dots.
If you've successfully groomed someone, they wouldn't view themselves as a victim. I mean, if it was 15, it was pretty fucked up. I don't feel great about 17 either. I don't know, but I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't look good though. Like it'd be interesting. And the other stuff, weird as it is, kind of all just. And again, I'm just trying to fit things into this weird little narrative that I've got as an underlying excuse for Namajunas shit in the bed. But just she was having a bit of a crisis, bit of a mental struggle. So Pat having to kind of do the interview for her while she's kind of checking in from the background. Shit, a lot of people don't handle the pressure of being a champion very well. It is a lot. It might just be that she's just feeling a little depleted right now, struggling with it a bit. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. She's a fucking beast. Plus, since forever, she's looked like she's really mentally struggling with things, and then she goes out and time again just performs, and then one
That's
off
true.
night, and I'm like, let's put it under a fucking microscope. Microscope. I don't know. It's just weird timing that now is when people are kind of acknowledging the age gap and everything, because I'm assuming
Yeah.
that most of this has been common knowledge for a while. I mean, I never put two
It
and two
feels
together.
like it's just. It feels like it's just one of those things where like nobody really looks at the timeline. You know what I mean? Everyone's just like, oh, I started training her, and then eventually they went out, and it's only when you kind of look back at the numbers that you're a bit like, this doesn't quite add up terrifically. And I suppose this is what it's for me. So it's like, okay, I can understand that she might have looked at him and he might have been like her big crush or something like that. So let's say that it plays out completely innocently. He's just coaching her, mentoring her. She's got this crush. She waits until she's 18 and says, "Hey, I'm crazy about you. Let's go out." You would think, and I suppose this is the difference, did he meet her at 17 and start training her then, or was it 15? If it's 15, you would think that his response to that and his emotions towards the situation would be more of a fatherly esque mentor rather than a sexual option. Now at 17, I can understand it more, but even so, you'd think like the initial relationship would be like a parental like one. And
Yeah.
so you almost think like he should have maybe gone, "Hey, listen, I'm your coach, really flattered. You've been training with me since before you hit fucking puberty. Let's calm down and you go be young." Moving away from Pat Barry grooming teenagers, which is not a topic of conversation that we expected to discuss when we first launched this channel.
No, I
Cain
saw this coming.
Velasquez,
I saw it coming.
equally, equally something we never thought we'd be discussing on this show. Was up for bail again, was denied again, was basically described as being too much of a danger to society to let out. Every single MMA fan's response to that is pretty simple. He's not a danger to society. He's a danger to one motherfucking man. And all you have to do is put that man in prison as well, and you have no fucking problem. Very disappointing, though. Judge
Yeah, but
acknowledged that many
that other
letters.
guy's going through his due process, unfortunately. So it's not something where they can just be like, yeah, yeah, no, like we understand what we need to do. We're just gonna hurry that guy up. Unfortunately, it's fucking is what it is. But what
And
Kane did was really fucking dumb. You know.
yeah, it's the other people that he endangered. It's actually landing a shot on the wrong fucking guy.
Two.
And really two of the wrong fucking guys. And
Oh
so
no,
I
the
can
one,
understand
one,
it.
one
It
guy.
was
Sorry, one guy, two shots.
one guy, two shots. Okay. So I can understand where the judge is coming from, and this isn't. I feel that this isn't a premeditated. Like you have to look at the fact that, you know, he's in an emotional state that should be taken into regard. The guy that's under his own charges should have been fucking not allowed bail himself. It was reckless, though. He could have killed a lot of other people in the method that he chose to do it. And I do think one of the other factors which has to come into account, and this is where I actually do feel sorry, have a bit of sympathy for the situation, but the other guy is going through his own due process. They can't factor in a potential guilty plea for him as a factor into Kane's bail because let's say the judge says, okay, we look at the situation and your fucking kid was being touched by this guy, therefore we're going to allow you to be released on bail. That's then evidence that can be used against that guy's trial in the sense of, well, hey, you actually gave this other guy an allowance for trying to kill this guy because of the fact that you actually think he's guilty. So they have to kind of have those two things be able to stand separately
Yeah.
as their own individual cases.
The argument for mitigating circumstances built around the belief that it happened. Yeah, there's no acknowledgement of it, and yeah, even if the guy is found guilty, it's not really gonna, or it's not gonna be allowed to impact the decision in this trial. So.
No.
And the fact that he was in a car and drove there with a gun, it's a first degree attempted murder charge I believe he's up against. So the one kind of good thing is that his lawyer did say that them kind of not allowing bail does kind of give kind of more credence to their kind of defense arguments. So it does not look good for Cain, but
he's going for the CTE route. Apparently, that's going to be a factor in their defense. I think that they should be going temporary insanity. I think that they should be trying to argue that he was in such a mental state so extreme due to the situation that he lost all cognitive responsibility for his decisions. That is the angle I'd be looking to take. One thing that I feel needs to be said, and obviously in the MMA community, there is an outcry of support for Cain, and obviously we are in that group. I think we can't get confused in the fact that there's a lot of people saying like, and I'm hearing this all the time, any guy would have done what he did. And what I would respond to that is I think any guy in his situation would have felt as he did. The way that he did it, it is reckless. And I think, unfortunately, that I don't think it should be 20 years, but I think that needs to be acknowledged, and it needs to be justice needs to be delivered in the correct setting for that. Something needs to be taken into account, but you can't. This isn't the Wild West, man. You can't live in all. You can't shoot up a town trying to kill one guy, and everyone just says, "Oh, don't worry about it. You're emotional." There's laws for a reason, and it's unfortunate. And I hope that he gets as lenient a sentence as possible. I hope all of the factors get taken into account.
Well,
But
it depends as well. California, I believe, is an elected DA, right? I'm not
correct,
sure, but
correct. I think all
uh,
DAs are elected.
I don't know if it is for all states. I don't want to assume anyway. I feel like they do make a point of pointing it out sometimes where they're like, and this one's an elected DA, so I'm like, presumably some aren't. Stuff like this plays, right? You know, this DA locked up a guy that tried to shoot someone that molested his own child. Don't vote for him. So I don't know how much that kind of plays into it. Potential leniency. It's a high profile case as well. So uh, whether or not that would impact you, it's going to impact you now rather than later on. You know that this is like the world's kind of watching moment. It's not quite O.J. Simpson, but it's certainly a big fucking trial. How did OJ get
It's
off?
the
They should
biggest.
use that one.
OJ got off because there wasn't fucking video evidence of him stabbing Nicole 60 times.
Just the book.
He also got off because he had outstanding lawyers. Like, whatever you think about the result, I still would say that that is one of the greatest defenses ever put on by a legal team.
I think obviously.
I mean, Barry Shack annihilated every single bit of DNA evidence that they had. I would have, if I was the jury, I would have said he was innocent, or I would have said that there wasn't enough evidence to convict him. So it is what it is. For Cain, I don't think that's going to happen. It's a fucking tragedy, but he did wrong. Do I understand why he did wrong? Fuck yeah. But the guy made a mistake, and he's going to face some time for it. I just hope it's not the rest of his life.
Yeah, what was that Norm MacDonald line? California have legalized murder, something like that. They should use.
Well, I mean,
that
Florida
defense.
did it. Florida did it with the fucking stand your ground law. That BS.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about some fun stuff, because there is some fun stuff that we can talk about. There's been some fights announced. UFC London is looking sick. We've got an interim title fight at 277. And Moreno is talking some shit about Figgy. Moreno's obviously going to be fighting for that interim belt against Kai Kara France. We've lost all sense as to what the fuck an interim belt is anymore, what a champion is anymore. Figueiredo won the belt 6 months ago, and they're doing an interim title shot. It's not even been a year. This is fucking ridiculous. There's no reason for this to be an interim title shot, other than they just want to sell pay-per-views.
Well, yeah, that's been it's been this way for a long time. Ever since Conor McGregor, and it is what it is. A UFC interim belt doesn't really mean much. That's why I guess you see so.
Do I like the fight?
Him to the ground. Yeah, great fight.
Do I like the fight? Fucking love the fight. Love it. Rematch. Close fight the first time round. Loving that we're going to get an extra 2 rounds for that scrap. Do I like the fact that Moreno gets a chance to hold gold again? Yeah. Do I like the fact that Kai Kara France gets a shot? Hell yeah. But what are we doing here, guys? Like, what's the point in having a champion if he gets injured and 6 months later he's got an interim title fight happening while he's away? Like, they used to at least wait a year.
Look, they should, and they definitely could, but I understand why they won't. They just want to keep their fun division fun. You know, if they're going to do Moreno Figueiredo 10, I guess they need to throw in as many interim fights in between as possible.
True. And
Uh,
it sells the quadrilogy very well.
yeah,
Champ versus interim champ. Both guys have taken the belt off each other in a different form, had the draw. I just felt like you could have said it. I mean, you could have just had Moreno fight Kai Kara France. You could have had Kai Kara France fight Pantoja.
I think it was easier to get Moreno to fight Kai Kara France with the interim belt on the line. Likewise, I think it was probably a little easier to get Kai Kara France to jump in rather than just wait for a title shot. Keeps the flyweight division ticking over nicely. It's a busy division. It's one of its strengths. Um, Look, I get it. I don't hate it in terms of giving, like you say, giving these guys another shot at gold, or Kai Kara France's first shot at gold. And even if we don't view it as real gold, he fucking will. His team will. You know, Eugene Behrman will. I don't hate it. Yeah, it's bullshit. They should have more integrity, but fuck it, I don't hate it. I've been used to this for a while. I think they've worn me down a little bit. I understand it. I see it for what it is. It's more about getting some more money in their pockets, giving them their moment, like their moment with the strap on their shoulder. You know. I don't hate it.
Who do you think wins the fight? What's your early impression?
Honestly, I can see Kai Kara France just coming in and connecting, but I just got to believe that Moreno's chin's tough enough to kind of weather those sort of frequent barrages. He's going to land a lot of damage too. He's going to take Kai Kara France into deeper waters than he's ever really been when the stakes are this high. And
I think he's got an amazing chin for flyweight.
Yeah, competitive scrap. I think Moreno's going to take at least 3 rounds though. Maybe 4,
I think the wrestling is going to be the key.
Yeah.
Both guys are great strikers, but Moreno's got the option for the takedown, and he only needs to land one takedown in the first 2 rounds, and that's going to open up more striking for him. There is no situation where Kai Kara France dives in on a single leg. It's just not going to happen. And I mean, this is a Brandon Moreno that subbed Brandon Royval. So I think there's too many ways that he wins that fight. But I like the fight a lot, and I love to see Kai get a shot. There was a couple of other big fights that have been announced. I know we covered a couple of these, not last week, but the week before. But let me just bring up the list. Other news, just while I'm looking through, it is a torn ACL for Rakic. So he's going to be out for at least 6 months, 8 months, maybe even a year. So rough run for him. Very rough run for him. Gallagher versus Johns has been set for Bellator Dublin. That should be a good fight. Gregor Gallagher, my apologies. Oh, we need to talk about this. Gregor Gillespie has been released from the UFC.
No, isn't that he just got dropped from the rankings? He put out a statement about how he hasn't been released. He's just pushing for another
fake
fight.
news alert. Fake news alert.
Yeah, but who was he calling out? I think Benil Dariush maybe. I'm trying to remember now. I did read it. Either way, he said, look, the reason he hasn't been fighting is because he's not accepting fighters ranked below him, and fighters ranked above him are refusing to fight him, and it's just been a Mexican standoff between him, the fighters below, and the fighters above. Boy needs to take a fight. Just take the fucking fight with the guy below. Get a fight in this year. Jesus.
Yeah, guy needs to be a lot more active. I mean, his last fight was Diego Ferreira, I think, last year.
Probably.
I think that was his first fight for 2 years since he got knocked out by Kevin Lee. Sick knockout that was. Absolutely sickening knockout that was. One of the best head kicks I've ever seen.
Yeah, not quite as juicy as Chandler against Ferguson, but it's the way the toes really just push through his chin. Oof.
We can talk about this. Tony Ferguson's given interviews in good spirits,
Yeah.
by all accounts. Positive, happy. Yeah. So that's positive. Still wants to fight. Knows he's got some stuff to work on.
Maybe at
Rumors about him maybe going
170.
up to 170.
Yeah.
I think that might not be the worst thing. He says he's skinny. He feels weak at 155. I think that chin would probably be a little bit. Uh, the life on that chin would be extended a little bit at 170,
That is a
and
fair way to put it.
he's. And I don't think he's got a frame that makes it impossible. He wouldn't be the long rangy guy, but he's not. Like Poirier's talking about fighting at 170, and I look at Poirier's frame and I'm like, it's not about how much you weigh, it's not about how hard you hit. You're fighting some tall motherfucking dudes, and you are not the grab the single leg and dive in.
Yeah.
So I don't like that at all.
Dustin's just looking at Colby, who I think is the same size. If Colby's taller, it's not by more than an inch or two. Aren't they both like?
I'm
5'8",
not so sure
5'9"?
on that.
How tall's
I'm
Dustin?
not so sure on that. I think Dustin's 5'9". I think Colby's 5'11", but with a bigger frame.
Colby is not 5'11".
Dustin's 1 meter 75. Colby is
1 meter 70, bitch.
180.
The fuck he is.
But Colby's a bigger human, man. Like, Colby's just got a bigger frame. They're not the same weight class of people if you stand them next to each other. Like, if anything, Dustin is thick. And that's where a lot of his weight comes from. He still probably walks around, even being as thick as he is, like considerably less. I'd say a good 10 pounds less than what Colby walks around at.
Yeah, but I think it's more that right now you've got an opportunity to be the first guy to fight Colby since Masvidal really got his hands on him. And even though that wasn't a good thing and that wasn't right, maybe someone did get a little sign of what they deserved. And I would really like to see, I think we'd all like to see, how much of that bravado he can bring to the forefront again to mask his own insecurities.
Yeah.
And go up against another former teammate who doesn't fuck around. And Dustin at 170 is going to be able to pack a punch. He does not have a very good chance of winning that fight. But if Colby comes out already half beaten and Dustin rocks him, could be like Usman putting him away again, you know?
Well,
get him feeling a little tired,
apparently,
a little scared.
Dustin's been calling for that fight. He's been saying July 30th. He's been offered that fight by the UFC. I was watching Bisping's podcast earlier. No way it's going to happen, and here's why. Colby Covington has his trial date set with Masvidal. And one of the things that Colby Covington is arguing in his trial is that he has brain damage due to being struck in the face by Masvidal. Now, if that's your argument in court, and you are arguing that one punch gave you brain damage, and then during that process are training to have a professional fight against a former champion level fighter, you can't really argue the brain damage thing. So my logic would be, I don't think Colby's fighting until this court case is settled, because it's harder to play the victim if you're preparing for a fight.
Yeah, but I kind of assume this court case will get settled. It's in the interest of all parties. Jorge is being hamstringed with his promotional capacity at this stage. I don't know how badly fucked he is on that Las Vegas license thing, but on the Nevada license, sorry, but if that is still like a viable fucking option, he needs to settle this shit yesterday. But yeah,
well,
you're
he's
right.
not guilty.
If it doesn't get settled, it's not happening. That's
Yeah, and apparently he can get up to 15 years in prison, Masvidal. I don't think he will. I think he'll get a fine. And I think, Colby's trying to exaggerate that he was wearing a Rolex. They've analyzed it. It's a fake Rolex put together with like different parts. So it's already in that mitigation stages, but I don't think that's going to be resolved quickly. And for Colby, I don't understand why you take that fight. You either beat a lightweight that everyone's expecting you to beat, and you get no distance or closer to getting a title shot again against Usman,
No, 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 no.
or you
You're thinking
lose.
about it like a normal person thinks about it. He thinks about it in the same way that Donald Trump thinks about things. It's just going to be like former title challenger, former interim title holder, like just another guy, like another notch on my bedpost. He'd still find a way to sell it. He's like just another one of those teammates that can't hang with me. I am the best in the world.
Dude.
He's a piece of shit. He's an idiot. He's a moron. But I can
Dude,
see
of all
why
the
he won that fight.
comparisons, of all the comparisons you could make, okay, I know that you do not like the guy, okay, but really, to compare Donald Trump to Colby Covington, like, I know he's one of the shittest presidents ever, but like, let's not drag his name down that bad. You know what I mean? Like, he might be a dick, but he's not Colby Covington. There's levels to this shitness.
Oh no, I mean how belligerently stupid they are.
I don't think Trump was stupid, personally. I think there was a
he is.
Machiavellianness
I really
to
don't think
him.
it was. I think he's a bit of a simple fuck, and like there's just it's apparently like it's always been that way. I remember reading this thing or seeing it on a documentary, like his lawyers from way back in the day when he was kind of starting out with his business empire. His lawyers would always send two lawyers to every meeting because they got sick of him lying about what had been said in meetings, and they needed to have two separate records to authenticate that he was talking out his fucking ass when he kept making this shit up. He lives in a fucking fairy tale land where everything he says is right and the sun shines out of his ass. And Colby Covington has the exact same approach to fighting because I think it's just one of them people that has to compartmentalize it to make it like a viable life, like a career choice. Otherwise you just can't do it. He's got a bit of that Brian Caraway in him.
If I was to text Colby Covington and he was to agree to do a weekly appearance on our channel, would you still feel this way about him? Or would he become fan favorite, friend of the show?
No.
You'd stand by your principles.
I'd almost soon have Conor McGregor on. No.
Okay, it's good to know you'd stand by your principles.
On, wouldn't you?
Yeah, man, I'd fucking have Conor McGregor on. I'd do it knowing that, like, you're going to say something and we're going to become viral because we're going to have you and Conor McGregor fucking going at each other. But I'd have them on.
Yeah, for 2 seconds.
We're fucking
logs up.
Dude, we're bottom feeders, mate. We are the fucking plankton. We are the plankton, dude. We can't be picking our meals,
we're
okay?
The diamonds in the rough. We're the hidden gems.
Well,
we're the best kept.
Well, we need some... well, in that case, we need some bad, evil African warlords to find us so that we can shine in the world. So Conor McGregor can be our child soldier forcing African warlord.
But no, we don't have to be a blood diamond. People can just like and subscribe and comment. Fucking just leave some
like
comments,
and subscribe.
You know what I mean? Even
do leave some comments.
I know that someone threw shade at us a while ago, and we might have jumped down your throat a little bit. We apologise. Leave the shitty comments too. Leave all the comments.
Are you referring to when somebody said that Rose was going to get smashed in the rematch against Zhang, and then the day after the fight happened, I just wrote ha 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 over and over again?
I wasn't going to throw you under the bus. I was going to sort of secretly allude in a sense that it was sly, but that's what I was talking about.
That was me. I'm quite proud of that moment, if I'm honest. Anyway, I haven't really got too much other news to talk about. I know there is lots of news, but I think we can call that an episode.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's a day. Bye, Laurie.
Guys,
bye, Dave.
Bye, Laurie. Bye, Dave. We will be back next week with our breakdown of UFC Vegas, as well as whatever news has happened since then. Tune in then. Have a great week. Enjoy the fights. Thanks for watching.